Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber continues to hear the testimony of witness to TCW 1065, and the chamber wishes to inform the parties that Duty Counsel Chan Sambo is not available today, and Ms. Soksajita is replacing him as a Duty Counsel. Ms. Sakolbati, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Grazie, Mr. President. For today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nunjie is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness is to continue his testimony today, namely to TCW 1065, as well as Mrs. Sokita, the Duty Counsel, present in the courtroom. We do not have any reserved witness today. President, thank you. The Chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea, dated 2nd November 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to be present at the 2nd November 2016 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty daughter for the accused at ECCCC, dated 2nd November 2016, which notes that today Nuon Chea has a back pain and feels dizzy when he sits for long, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow today's proceeding remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The Chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow. That applies for the whole day. I'd like now to hand the floor to Judge Sama Alavan to put some questions to the witness. Do you have the floor, Judge?
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I have several follow-up questions to ask you, and first of all, some clarifying questions. Yesterday, I did not understand very clearly if you were a doctor or simply a medic nurse. And could you tell us if it was 165 or 167?
I myself was chief of Hospital 156. It's not 165.
This Hospital 166, was it a hospital that was attached to the sector or the zone? Was it a civil or military hospital?
Hospital 156 was under Division 4, so it's a military hospital.
Yeah.
Very well. If I understood correctly yesterday, you said that at a certain point you became the head of a regiment. So by that, should we understand that you had stopped your functions as director of the hospital in order to undertake purely military activities? And if that is the case, when did this change take place?
From 25 May 1978, I was no longer chairman of the hospital, and I worked for the military, and I engaged in the battlefield.
Donc,
So as of 25 May 1978, was there a change in the hierarchical line, or was it the same? And can you tell me who was above you in that hierarchy?
អរគុណ
On the 25th of May 1978, Democratic Cambodia conducted a coup d'etat in the East Zone, so all departments and sections fled. There was no clear explanation as who were the chiefs and who were not, because many cadres were arrested on that day. So, at the time, nobody else was about me. I myself was in charge of the soldiers. Since some soldiers fled to the south or to the north, and some were captured, I myself then had to organize the forces to attack the Khmer Rouge.
អត់មានអាណាមេ
And there was no other military commander besides me.
donc,
So before the 25th of May 1978, can you please tell us again and clarify who was your superior?
Before the 25th of May 1978, Som Miet was my director superior. He passed away. And another superior was Chun. They were my director superiors.
donc, ils
So they were leading a brigade or of Division 4? And, for example, where was Eng Samri?
រឿងនេះចេះ
Regarding Somnit and Chun, their rank was commanders of a regiment. As for the division and the headquarters where Heisenman was based was at Grai, while I myself was at Law Village, that is for my unit 156.
D'accord.
All right. Before 25 May 1978, were you, as the director of the military hospital, were you also participating in military activities, in attacks?
Est-ce que votre rôle
Or was your role limited to only receiving wounded soldiers and managing the hospital?
អរគុណ
For me, I was at the front, a battlefield, when people or soldiers were wounded, they would be sent to us for treatment. However, we ourselves were at the front battlefield as well.
donc,
So when you say we were also on the battlefront, should I understand that you also participated in combat in military operations?
I was at the battlefront. Let's say the front battlefield was 50 meters to the front, and then that would be our position. Although we were part of the front battlefield, we were not engaged at the up front battlefield.
Juste pour une
Just to clarify, were you or your men armed? And did you ever have to use your weapons when you were on the front?
We were at the battlefront, and although as medics we also were armed, we had to defend ourselves too.
Donc,
So I understand that you were armed, that you followed or even sometimes went ahead of the troops, and you talked about a certain number of military operations. Did you personally ever participate in incursions into Vietnamese territory?
Personally, I was behind the battlefront. We were the medics, and we were there for urgent treatments to wounded soldiers. For that reason, I did not directly engage in the combat.
d'accord. Je reviendrai.
I'll come back to combat a little bit later. For the time being, I'd like to discuss again the reasons for the clashes on the border that you talked about concerning conflict between Cambodia and Vietnam. If I understood correctly, there were conflicts which originated in the East Zone because certain villages were no longer in Cambodia. Was there a verification of the border limits, and if so, could you tell me who commanded that these verifications were carried out?
Regarding the border demarcation, we lost some of our villages. In 2012, the UN representatives actually worked with me and showing me the map. And when I looked at the map, some of the Khmer villages were no longer there. And on the ground, they were actually not there. And we do not know where they were. That's why we said that we lost those villages.
Bien. Je voudrais vraiment.
I would really like us to focus on 1977 or 1978, or at least during the DK period. What happened after that's another issue. So during this particular period, were there orders given for the demarcation of the border to be carried out? And if so, who issued these orders?
Personally, I did not hear that. However, through the commander in the same unit, they made mention of it that it came from the zone, although I myself did not hear it. It was the commander who spoke about the verifications of the border demarcation.
Je vais donner lecture.
I will read your WRI E3 10668. It's a question and answer number 2, and it's toward the end of this answer. You say the following. The day after the liberation of the capital, the division was divided. There was a division into zones, but I'll just talk about Sao Yon, alias Sao Pim's area, which was in the east. Later, he ordered all of the units attached to the east zone to carry out a verification of the markers in the east of Prevang and Sferang and of Kampong Cham. Intelligence agents of all units were sent on mission after a disagreement on certain border markers indicating the border between Cambodia and Vietnam led to a conflict breaking out. So does this refresh your memory? Is this as you remember it?
Ou est-ce que c'est simplement quelque chose dont vous avez...
Or is it something that you just heard about?
I only heard about this matter. That is through the commander where I was based.
Quand vous dites...
When you say the commander, who are you talking about? Are you talking about the commander of your regiment, or are you talking about Sao Pim?
I refer to the commander of a regiment 156.
D'accord.
All right. After that, did you hear if there were any negotiations, attempts to resolve this border conflict issue amicably? Is that something you heard about, or were you a direct witness of it?
អរគុណ
I myself did not hear that, nor did I see it.
Bien.
Very well. I will continue reading your WRI E3 10668, still in number 2. You said the following. As the East Zone thought that Vietnam was not respecting Cambodia's territorial integrity, it decided to use military force. So is that something that you knew? Was it something someone told you? Were there meetings about this? What can you tell us about it?
The commander of the regiment, after he returns from the meeting, he will disseminate information to all of us.
Alors, j'avais oublié de terminer.
I forgot to read the end of this sentence because you say that the East Zone then decided to use military force after the failure of diplomatic means, and then you talk about a military campaign which started in 1977. Can you be more precise? Can you tell us if you received clear instructions about this military campaign? And what was the goal of this campaign?
Regarding the dissemination of information and the campaign, I obtained this knowledge from the regimental commander. As I said, after he came from the meeting, he would disseminate the information to all of us.
Et alors, est-ce qu'il vous a...
Did he tell you what the goal of the campaign that was launched in 1977 would be? Did he give any clear instructions or indications of that?
Yes, the entire unit staffs were informed that the purpose of the East Zone, as we were briefed by the commander, that we had to warn the Vietnamese sides to respect the border demarcation.
Je continue la lecture.
I'll continue reading your written record of interview. You say the following. In 1977, a military campaign was launched against Vietnamese troops in all sectors in order to warn Vietnam that Cambodia was not as weak as they thought, or as Vietnam thought. That was the beginning of a bloody war between Cambodia and Vietnam. So does this indeed correspond to your memories? Was there an attack in all sectors? Was there one day that was decided to launch this attack? And did this attack involve an incursion into Vietnamese territory?
Akun.
Regarding the attack into Vietnamese territory, there was no limit or no restrictions since after the campaign was launched.
Donc, si je comprends...
So if I understand correctly, the campaign involved objectives that might have been situated in Vietnamese territory. Did I understand that correctly?
As I said, there was no limit for the attack. If we could, we could penetrate into Vietnamese territory, and there was no deadline, for example, as to when the attacks should cease or where we should stop our advancement.
Donc, est-ce...
So was the goal to advance as far as possible into Vietnamese territory? Were the goals that you were targeting, the objects you were targeting, were they military or were they civilian targets?
Akun.
For our unit, it was not for any civilian targets. Our targets were all military. However, I cannot say about the targets for other units.
Et est-ce que vous avez...
And did you hear if there were attacks against civilian targets? Were there any villages or markets attacked on Vietnamese territory?
I heard about it, but I never saw it. I heard people saying that they were at a smart market, but I did not know as to which unit actually attacked that smart market.
Et qu'est-ce que
And what exactly did you hear? What happened at the smutch market?
I only heard that a smart market was attacked, but I did not know the purpose of such attack. I did not ask for any further details about the attack. However, people was saying from one to another that there was an attack on a smart market.
et est-ce que
And the forces that attacked the smutch market, were those troops from Division 4 or from another division?
Regarding the attack on smart market, those soldiers belongs to the sector level, because for the division forces, our main targets were the military targets.
vous
You gave this interview to investigative judges, and in E3/10669, you gave certain pieces of information about a map. And the map is in E3/10669.3. I don't know if it would be possible to show this map on the screen. I don't know if it would be visible. But if it is possible, please show the map.
What, please deliver the document for the witness to view it, and every unit please show that document on screen as requested by Judge Laverne. And Councillor Antakuse, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. I will take advantage of this technical moment just to note that we're approaching very specific facts that are not in the closing order, and this really is a problem for the defense. So I don't know where the questions of Judge Laverne are leading exactly, but in any case, if we're talking about facts that are not covered by the closing order, we really have a problem, legally speaking, and for the defense. So I just want to note that now we're going into the details of incursions into Vietnamese territory, and that does not appear in the closing order.
Thank you, Councillor, for your observation regarding document E3/10669.3. That is the document that to be shown on screen.
Bien, je crois que Maître Guisset soulevait une objection.
I see that Councillor Guisset has noted this objection, but I think that the Chamber has already responded to this objection several times. Here we're looking at the issue of armed conflict, and armed conflict also took place both in the Cambodian territory and in the Vietnamese territory.
មិញលេខតម្រាច់រួច
I already heard your observation, Council. Do you wish to object to it? Let me give you the floor again. Council, you have the floor.
We
Yes, simply referring to Judge Laverne's last comment, where he said that armed conflict concerns both sides, but the referral of charges against the accused specifically excluded anything that happened on Vietnamese territory. So I certainly want to talk about armed conflict in general, but if there's a specific exclusion for armed conflict that took place on Vietnamese territory, I don't see how we can pursue that. Judge Laverne, listen, to understand, armed conflict needs to be explained and examined in all of its aspects on wherever it took place, understanding that the accused are not responsible for what took place in Vietnam. So, Mr. Witness, you've seen this map. Do you remember having written instructions on this map?
អរគុណ
The map is so small that I cannot see it clearly.
Bien. Effectivement, ce
Yes, effectively, on the screen this is not very useful. I will simply read certain place names that you apparently put in a Vietnamese territory. Apparently you mentioned Tanaut village, Smach village, Svai village, Pal village, and Chas village. Do you remember having mentioned these places, and do you remember what happened there?
Regarding the villages that I wrote down on the map, I myself went to those villages, but after that I haven't been back. I do not know what happens to those villages now.
Bien. Hier,
Very well. Yesterday, a certain number of telegrams were given to you. Do you still have them with you?
មកតមកត
Please hold on, Mr. Witness. I still have the telegrams that I was given yesterday.
bien.
So the first telegram that I'd like to look at with you is E3/891. It's telegram number 61. And it is addressed to Mr. 8110, October 1977. And it's signed by Chun, C-H-H-U-N. It says the following. I would like to first inform you about the battlefield on Route 22 as follows. The sector of Route 22, we have been continually attacking them since 27 to 28, and we launched an attack last night and pursued the enemy beyond Trapang Phlum. Currently, we once again are in full control of our defense lines. We are pursuing the enemy and once again attacking barracks number 27. This was a telegram sent to Amnun Bangvan Bangun Bongkyu. Does this refresh your memory about the events that you participated in or that you heard about?
Some documents that were given to me, I reviewed them, and those reports that were made by Chun, I can say that Chun was not in the East Zone. As for these typed names, that is Uncle Van, for example, I do not know them. Probably they were from another zone. And Chun was the one who was engaged in the battlefield in the East Zone. Because from what I say, what I can say is that those reports were produced by Chun and copies to uncles, and they were typed. And to my knowledge, I do not know this person at all. I can say that these people were in a different zone and not in the East Zone.
Est-ce que vous...
Do you mean that you're indicating that these people came from another zone, not the East Zone? Because apparently they're talking here about a certain number of places which are situated in the East Zone, and you yourself say that Chun was at the front. But if I understand correctly, the front was in the East Zone.
ขอบคุณ
បាទចាប់ដើម
President, we can resume now, and Judge Lavange, please repeat your question. And I suggest that the question should be precise and clear. And the question should be focused on the telegram in relation to the situation occurred in the East. Regarding Chon, we got the answer already from the witness that he does not know that individual. And please focus the question about the situation, whether or not that situation did occur in the East. Otherwise, I heard only the question about Chon. So please focus on the situation that stated, that was included in the telegram.
លោកជាក្រុមសម្ងាត់អាច
Judge Lavange, could you repeat the question? I think the witness do not recall it.
Bien,
Okay, I'll come back to the telegram. The telegram E3/891 is signed by Chun, and it mentions an attack against Barracks 27. It seems to me that yesterday you talked about this Barracks 27. Could you be a little more precise and tell us where this Barracks 27 is situated, and when and why was it attacked?
Thank you, Judge. I suggest that some documents should be given to me for further study. There is still a question in my mind, who initiated the coup d'etat in the East. So the question, I believe, is in your mind as well, Judge. President interrupts. Mr. Witness, please answer the question put to you. Listen carefully to the question. You are obliged to answer the question. And if you do not know about the occurrence, you can say so. And if you do not know the names or the names of individual or location, please say so. This is the court proceedings. Please listen carefully to the question. Yesterday you have already answered my question, and you stated that you led the forces to attack at that location. International judge may have not heard clearly your answer, and he may want to make clarification with you on this particular point. And the question is about the location of the office the location of Office 27. Witness. Yesterday I did talk about the location of Headquarters 27. I do not know how far it was from the border. This is all I can tell you, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Very well. Can you tell us if this place was in Vietnam or not?
President, please hold on. You have anything to address the chamber, Copper?
Yes, Mr. President, just a brief remark in relation to the English translation. The English translation of document E3/891 is full of mistakes. First of all, the date of that telegram from Chon says 1978, whereas in fact it is indeed 1977. 2 times there is a mistake. And also in the English translation it says Fort 22, but in the original Khmer we checked it, it is indeed Fort 27.
Pour être absolument précis.
To be very precise, all the telegrams that were read out yesterday and submitted to the witness today, all of those telegrams refer to Barracks 27 or Fort 27. I don't know if it's a fort or if it's an office or a barracks, but the word in French corresponds to barracks in English. And what I've understand, and perhaps what the witness could clarify for us, is that this was a strategic military position. Mr. Witness, could you give us more detail concerning this Barracks 27, what its role was, what was its purpose? Were there Vietnamese military defenses there? Of what type? Could you please give us details?
The question is about Barrack 27. What is it? I do not know either, but this is the Vietnamese barrack, and it was located on the territory of Vietnam to defend and protect its own people.
Est-ce que la stratégie
Was the strategy put into place by the DK forces meant to undertake an offensive decision, and was it to also oppose any counter-offensives? So was it to bring the DK forces to make incursions into Vietnam and to repel any incursions by Vietnamese forces into Cambodian territory? Was that the strategy?
Regarding the strategy, I have no idea, Your Honor. The strategy to attack into our country, how was it? I do not know. I have no idea. And that was the plan of the other side. I do not know the opposing parties' strategies.
Alors, j'ai pas le temps de...
So I don't have the time to go through all of the telegrams. I would like you to concentrate on a telegram which was presented to you during your interview. This is E3 10669.1. Do you have this telegram with you?
Je répète, E3.
I'll repeat the number, E3/10669.1.
I do not have that document in my hand, Mr. Judge.
Alors,
Very well, I don't have the Khmer version, so we'll move on to something else. Mr. Witness, you had the opportunity to meet Sao Pim. Can you tell us if, from your point of view, from what you know of Sao Pim, do you have the impression that Sao Pim if he sought to work with, find an agreement with the Vietnamese forces instead of attacking them, or did he seek to attack them?
ចំពោះរូបខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់
Personally, I met with Salpam. I did not discuss with him about the issue of Vietnam. We had a casual conversation in relation to our family members. We did not discuss about the politics or any strategies, military strategies. We had a casual conversation only.
Bien. Vous avez parlé.
All right, then you talked about a coup d'etat on the 25th of May 1978. Up to that date, and even before, did you have the impression that the East Zone armed forces tried to avoid armed conflict and clashes with the Vietnamese troops, or were they in serious combat against these armed forces?
អរគុណ
Concerning the East Zone, it happened in this way. Concerning the struggle and bloody war, I have no idea. But I want to inform the chamber about one particular point. The Chon made the report about the East. I said that Chon was not a part of the Catrace group in the East. Concerning the date 25 December 1978, the center sent a Kaipok from the Central Zone to the East.
បញ្ហា
President, please listen carefully to the question. The question is limited to the situations stated in the telegram. The situation reflects what happened in the East. And the question is, do you know the occurrence of the incidents? And the question is also focusing on whether or not the Cambodian side attacked into Vietnam, or the Cambodian side only countered the attack. The chamber did not ask you about the individual by the name Chon. The question again is focusing on the situation in the telegram. Please listen carefully to the question. Do you understand? We are grateful to you that you are happy to answer the question, but you cannot say what you want. Judge Lavange, please reformulate your last question.
ឯកសារទាំងអស់នេះ
All the telegrams mention the year 1977, not 78. If it mentioned 1978, the month appears to be in January of 1978. So the telegrams say about the year 1977. And there is one telegram or document mentioned about the year 1978. Please be clear on that, Mr. Witness.
Bien, Monsieur le témoin.
Mr. Witness, what can you tell us, since you read this telegram, what can you tell us about what you know about the attacks carried out by the East Zone Army against Vietnam?
I do not know much. I know only that forces were sent to join the attack. I do not know the detailed plan.
Bien, vous,
All right. You were in charge of a military hospital. I suppose you must have had many wounded. Can you tell us first if there were many deaths or many people who were wounded? What were the types of injuries you saw? Were they due from shots, from guns, from artillery? I think one of the telegrams mentions toxic gases. Were there gases used in combat? So these grenades that were smoking and toxic were mentioned in telegram E3/922.
There were wounded people at the hospital, and there was a small number of fatality. Usually war caused a fatality. There were injured people and people who died. I have never seen the use of toxic gas. I do not know how it happened or how it was stated in that document.
bien.
Very well. Let us set aside the telegrams because we need to press on. I'd like you to talk a bit more about Sao Pim. You have stated that you didn't have the opportunity to discuss military matters with him. Do you nevertheless know what was his general opinion regarding the Vietnamese?
Concerning Sao Pim's visit to Vietnam, or his plan to visit Vietnam, he did not mention his plan. He did not mention his plan about the attackers either. I do not know about his plan. I had a casual conversation with him. I did not have a formal conversation with him. I have no idea about his plan.
Qu'est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire?
What can you tell us regarding the presence of forces from the Central Zone in the East Zone? Was there a period during which you observed some kind of collaboration between KPOC's forces and Sao Pim's forces? Or did a conflict between the two break out immediately?
Allow me to briefly tell the chamber. First, the East Zone forces were engaged in the attack against Vietnam, not the forces from the Central Zone. And in the later stage, the Vietnamese forces attacked into Cambodian territory. Yesterday, President asked the question, and there was Hill village, Mai Sa village, and other villages. In fact, the Central Zone forces were sent to be prepared at the rear. Only the East Zone forces were ready at the front to wage the attack against the Vietnam. So the Central Zone forces were there but at the rear. From 1978, the incident happened within the country, and that was the time when the coup d'etat started. People fled, some had been arrested, some had been killed. It was from that time onward that the Central Forces started to attack its own forces. I have been given the documents. Chon, I believe, was at the front, and front was engaged in the coup d'etat. And Uncle Om Nguyen, I believe, some of the people at the top agreed with the plans to conduct the coup d'etat. I made my own analysis. President interrupts. Mr. Wines, you are not entitled to analyze the situation again. You are obliged to answer to the limit of the question. You are not an expert to come here and make an analysis for the chamber. The chamber will take into consideration all the relevant factors and facts. Then the judgment will be issued.
Bien. Vous nous avez dit.
Very well. You have said that as of 25th May 1978, you found yourself isolated and you were at the head of a regime. Can you tell us, at the head of a regiment, can you tell us how many people were under your orders as of the 25th of May 1977? And who were those people? Were they former members of the hospital, or they were other soldiers?
I led my forces. They were from Brigade number 4. They were taken from the front in order to engage in the attack against the Central Zone forces.
Donc, il y avait combien d'hommes au total?
How many men, all in all, were under your orders?
There were 300 men under my order. 300 soldiers from the infantry, and I have 40 soldiers from the special unit.
Quand avez-vous commencé?
When did you start fighting against the forces of the Central Zone Army? Immediately as of the 25th of May 1978, or somewhat later? Can you tell us exactly what the situation was?
I started to engage in the fighting from 25 May 1978. We had no hammocks, we had no food to eat, said the witness. We had only ammunition to use for the attack.
Et ces attaques ont duré jusqu'à quand?
And for how long did those attacks go on?
The attack started from 25 May 1978 up to November of that year.
Est-ce que avant le 25
Before the 25th of May 1978, do you know whether some cadres or some Cambodians had fled to Vietnam? Were you aware of that?
I am not aware of that.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire quand, pour la première fois,
Can you tell us when, for the first time, you personally had contacts with the Vietnamese armed forces, contacts with a view to joining the Vietnamese camp and being integrated in the Vietnamese camp?
I cannot recall the exact date and month, but I can remember the year. It was from November 1978 when the coordination or communication with the Vietnamese troop was made. I had a fever at Memot. The Memot, which area was just liberated from the decay. Vietnam communicated with my forces in order to cooperate and liberate the country. One day I was brought to Ho Chi Minh by a helicopter.
bien, jusqu'à cette date de
Very well. Up until that date in November 1978, did you and your men fight on the one hand against the forces of the central zone and on the other hand against the Vietnamese? Is that what I should gather from your testimony?
They were all my enemies. They were all my opposing parties. At the initial stage, we fought against Vietnam. Then there was a coup d'etat. The situation was confusing, and we started to attack our own, the other forces in the country. So the situation was in a chaotic manner.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire précisément quel...
Can you tell us specifically which persons got in contact with you, those you met, whether in Cambodia or in Vietnam, and in particular when you went to Ho Chi Minh?
My first meeting in the forest with the Vietnamese did happen. I did not know the names of Vietnam. I remember there were two names, Coi Bien and Tai Tek. They were the first two individuals who came to make contact with me at the time.
Qu'est-ce qui vous a convaincu de les rejoindre?
What convinced you to join them? And who are the other persons you subsequently met?
I was convinced in the first meeting that I had to cooperate with them in order to liberate Cambodia from the hand of Pol Pot, who killed the people. These people then left, and I know only that they were from Vietnamese troop.
Juste une dernière question parce que je pense...
Just one last question, because I think it's time to take the break. Just one question. You had met Cambodians who had defected and gone into Vietnam, had you met those people? Did you meet military and political officials who are members of a front to fight against the forces of democratic Cambodia? Had you met all those persons?
I met some of them, the politicians, those who were engaged in the struggle with me at the time. I met some of them, in fact.
Vous pouvez nous dire qui?
Well, can you tell us who exactly?
អរគុណ
Your Honor, I met Samdach Hein Samran Ok Bun Chuen. We met with one another. The General Staff, Paul Zaruen, I also met him. We had a discussion as well. President, thank you, Mr. Wines. Let's take a quick break. The chamber will take a short break from now until 45 to 11. Court officer, please assist the witness in the break time and please invite him back together with the duty counsel into the courtroom. The court